Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hi, welcome to Politically Correct. I'm DK Singh. In this episode, I'm going to talk about a PIL, a public interest litigation, which may have great socio-political ramifications in terms of renewal of agitations for the removal of mosque and Muslim shrines, like say the Gyanvapi mosque in Kashi and in Varanasi and Shahi Idgah in Mathura. And the PIL actually, depending on how the court moves forward with this, the PIL may actually also force Prime Minister Narendra Modi to think about what kind of legacy he wants to leave behind whenever he decides to hang up his boots. Coming to the PIL first, it was filed by a BJP leader who is also an advocate, Ashwini Upadhyay. He had challenged the validity of a law called Places of Worship Special Provisions Act 1991. This became a law during P.V. Narasimha Rao regime in 1991. So, what does this law say? It prohibits conversion of any place of worship or conversion of the religious character of any place of worship, be it a temple or a mosque, as it existed on the 15th of August 1947, except Babri Masjid, Ram Janmabhoomi dispute, which was already in the court then when the law was passed. The second aspect of this law was that all the litigations which were there in the court then related to those matters, they stood abated or terminated. But the most crucial aspect was that no civil suits could be entertained by any court about these issues, about any demand for conversion of a place whose religious character might have changed before 15th of August 1947. So, in the Ayodhya verdict in 2019, when a constitution bench of the Supreme Court had delivered the Ayodhya verdict in favor of the Hindus, the constitution bench had in fact endorsed this law, that Places of Worship Act, saying, and I'll quote what the Supreme Court's constitution bench had to say. It said, "The law is a legislative instrument designed to protect the secular features of the Indian polity, which is one of the basic features of the constitution." So, clear endorsement actually. S.A. Bobde, who is the CJI now, he was part of the constitution bench then also, the constitution bench which endorsed this law. But now Justice Bobde has decided to entertain this PIL, and it has sought a response from the centre. So, what is the centre going to do now? See, there has been a lot of debate that this narrative of victimhood, historical wrongs, this narrative has to go now, because now that you have this Ayodhya verdict, that has been a debate. On the other side, you have organizations and many individuals who have been saying that no, every single wrong has to be undone. And this is where this particular law, Places of Worship Act, becomes a hindrance for those who really think that those old cases need to be reopened. The real issue actually is for the Prime Minister that whether you want to bring a closure on that narrative of victimhood, and who is going to stop this government if it were to say that we are trying to do justice to the Hindus for the historical wrongs. So, given the kind of opposition leaders you have today, you have heard Mamata Banerjee talking, who is reciting Chandipat. You have somebody like, say, even Naveen Patnaik, who is actually busy beautifying the temples in Odisha. You have Rahul Gandhi, who is what you call Dattatreya Brahmin, Janudari Dattatreya Brahmin. So, who is going to oppose this if the government were to say that we have to do justice to the Hindus and actually rectify the historical wrongs? So, for the government, it's not an issue at all. The real issue here is whether you want to bring a closure on this entire victimhood narrative and move ahead, talk about the betterment of society, development, or you want to continue with it and fight for it legally and politically until every historical wrong is undone. When the Prime Minister went to Ayodhya for that Bhumi Pujan, after that he delivered a speech where he talked about how this actually, it was the culmination of centuries old penance, sacrifices and resolve. RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat was there. He said it was the beginning of a new India. So, you got the impression that probably all these Sangh Parivar leaders even the Prime Minister, they were looking at some sort of a closure. Especially because the BJP, you did not hear anybody from the BJP talking about Kashi or Mathura and what will happen in future. In fact, initially even the RSS seemed to be pretty clear that that was it. Let's stop it here. So I am quoting RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat. I mean, what he said after the Ayodhya verdict. He said, the Sangh does not get involved in any movement. We work towards character building. In the past, circumstances were different, resulting in the Sangh getting involved in the Ayodhya movement. We will once again work for character building. So basically, our impression that they were kind of looking beyond all these disputes, this impression was actually further buttressed by the silence of BJP leaders. Some individuals spoke, and we have heard Vinay Katiyar, you have heard Subramanian Swamy, they have talked about it, but BJP as a party has not taken any official stand on this. But last September, as I had reported, I had met a top BJP RSS functionary, and he talked about, there was a nuance shift. So when I have just quoted Mohan Bhagwat saying that we will once again work for character building and we will not be involved in any movement. But after that, in September, I am talking about the RSS functionary who was interacting with us informally. He said, look, whatever the Samaj thinks, whatever the society thinks, we will do. So there was a nuance shift. And after that, you saw many Hindu organizations getting active. Even VHP has become very active. So you have, last year there were civil suits in Varanasi and in Mathura demanding the removal of Gyanvapi mosque and Shahi Idgah. Those suits are pending actually. No call has been taken because of the existence of this law, Places of Worship Act. Now the centre has to respond what it thinks about this act. Look, if you look at it politically, the BJP does not have to own up this act, because when it was being discussed in Parliament in 1991, BJP had staged a walkout. It had opposed that bill right from its introduction stage. And I will just cite what Uma Bharti had said in the Lok Sabha then. She had said that by maintaining the status quo of 1947, the cut-off date actually, it seems you are following a policy of appeasement. Later on, BJP staged a walkout and the bill was passed, it became a law. Basically, what I am driving at is that BJP is under no compulsion to defend this law. So, as the government takes a call on the Supreme Court notice to respond on the PIL challenging the validity of this law, what will weigh on the Prime Minister's mind is whether he wants to leave a legacy where the past wrongs have been undone. As Amish Tripathi, a diplomat and author, I mean, he was telling our editor-in-chief Shekhar Gupta in one of the off-the-cuff programs that this Ram Janmabhoomi, this temple in Ayodhya, has addressed the pain of the past, and that Bhumi Pujan was a civilizational moment for India. So you have brought that now. Let there be a closure, because this community victimhood or community guilt will serve no purpose anymore. So the Prime Minister may be thinking about that also. Like, during my regime I have brought closure on the biggest historical wrong, or he will be thinking that during my regime the historical wrong has been rectified, has been undone, and now you have a temple in Ayodhya. Now move on, let's focus on the uplift of the society. But then there are many imperatives I spoke about, political and ideological imperatives. So I don't know what the PM will do, but he still has time, because this notice has been sent by a bench headed by CJI S.A. Bobde. But Justice Bobde is going to retire next month. Then you will have a new CJI. Then this bench will have to be reconstituted. And as we have seen, when it comes to crucial matters like 370 or CAA, the Supreme Court takes its own time. So it's not necessary that the government has to take a call right now or take a stand, because court proceedings are going to drag on, I'm sure.